Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Mataji, we are reading the Bhagavad Gita as it is. We are on chapter 18. Chapter 18 is the perfection of renunciation. And today we are going to be doing text 71. Sorry, Mataji. Today we are going to be doing 72 and 73. Mataji, we've read the text and the purport. That's why the confusion, because I've already underlined. So it's 72 and 73 today.
Wonderful.
We'll hand over.
Thank you, Mataji. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Nananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschayata Deshatarane. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai. So first of all, I want to pay my humble obeisances to all of you on the call. Kindly bless me so that I'm able to speak the relevant words of Srila Prabhupada in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So without any further ado, we can get started. I know we have 2 verses for today. So let's get started. So just wanted to talk a little bit about 18.70. Then we can just move forward with the other verses as well. So it's very important to understand how Bhagavad Gita, from the 70th verse, we understand how Bhagavad Gita is a profoundly empowering book. And how can we actually develop the relationship with Bhagavad Gita, right? So if you look at some of us, we may be brought up in a culture where everyone admires Gita. We may have our copy of Gita on our altar. We could have left it there. Dust could have accumulated on it. It's long because of the disuse of the book. You know, we just leave it there for a period of time without actually serving its purpose. Sometimes we may have memorized a few verses and happily quote them as an official proof, thinking, oh, see, look at how much piety how much pious I am. Like that, to just reveal our glory, we may just happily quote some verses. This is kind of ignorance, because we may get some religious benefit or merit out of this, but it won't get us the spiritual empowerment that we need. So this is first level. And then slowly what happens, Gita itself prods us, and what we can say is we start worshipping Gita with one's intelligence. This implies that we use our intelligence in a very prayerful, submissive way to analyze and appreciate and assimilate Gita's message. Thereby, okay, we understand its glory, we understand its relevancy. Our sincere attempt is being made here to comprehend, even though there is, even though culturally you may not have been brought up with this Gita environment, even though you don't have, knowledge from your birth, meaning you just you start to comprehend this knowledge by your own intelligence, and you start to worship Gita. This is comprehension stage. And then slowly what happens is, Gita obviously is a book of application, isn't it? So we start applying the message of Gita because we actually are able to appreciate Gita because of its spiritual realities. Whatever the Gita message, whatever we say, we are able to apply to our relevant life also. Practically, we are able to see the application of Gita when we start to apply some of the principles of Gita. So from veneration, we actually moved down to comprehension. We started to comprehend Gita by our own intelligence. And after comprehending, what happens is we start to apply that information, apply Gita, because we are able to see the relevance and we are able to appreciate for how practical it is. And then what happens is we get transformational, because it redirects all of our attention from matter, isn't it? Right now, we've been focusing so much on the matter, and now we start to think about Krishna. So it actually raises our consciousness beyond the temporary to something that is eternal love of Lord Krishna. So this is what Gita does to us, and that is what is being explained in 18.70. How empowering Gita is. There is a potential, and we need to develop that sort of relationship with Gita so that we can progressively progress by the usage of Gita in our lives. So this is the understanding of the 7th verse. And obviously, once we start to, Gita actually that way empowers us to get the success in our life. Okay, so that is 70th verse. And now we'll move on to the 71st verse. So the 71st verse says, of course, if you look at 68 and 69, Krishna says, preach this message to everyone. Preach this message of Gita to everyone. And in 70, he says, even if you can't preach, study at least. No problem. If you can't, if you don't have the appetite to preach, no problem. Just study. In 71, he says, if you can't study, then at least hear. Can you do this? So these are the gradations that Krishna, we are seeing some sort of a gradation here, isn't it? So first he said, preach this message to everyone. And that person who preaches this message of Gita is so dear to me. And he said, no problem. If you can't preach, don't worry about it. Just study Gita. Okay, if you can't study scrutinizingly, then what you should do? You should hear nicely. Because our process starts with hearing, isn't it? Very, very important how much we can make use of these ears that are given to us. The senses, each one can perform its very, very, Krishna conscious function they can do. You can listen, you can see Krishna's deity, worship Krishna through your eyes. So, and then speak Krishna Katha. So many things the senses can do. So Krishna is asking us to hear, hear nicely. So it is like a person is there in the well, okay? And somebody is trying to put a rope down, and the person who's fallen in the well has to pick up that rope and he has to climb. Okay, the fallen person says, I can't climb. It's not possible for me. So the second option, what is the second option? Just hold on to the rope. What I'll do is, I will pull you out. The other person says, no, I can't hold it also. It's very, very tough for me. Then what happens? Just the person is saying, you just wear this rope tied to your waist and I will pull you out. You don't have to do anything. Just have to only tie to your waist and I will be able to pull you out. So like that, Krishna is actually offering increasing mercy. If you look at it, he's saying, no problem. If you can't preach, no worries. Just study. If you can't study, no problem. Just hear the message of Bhagavad Gita. So this is what is illustrated through this example of a person who has fallen in the well, and how Krishna's mercy is actually increasing. He is ready to offer anything for you. That is the message that we are seeing in the 71st verse. And we can understand how big-hearted, right? How large-hearted donor Krishna is. Because this is what is revealed in Gita's conclusion. He offers us the grace. And so eager he is to receive. I mean, he's so eager to help us out in this process of Krishna consciousness. He has a very, very accommodating heart, and it's revealed towards the end in Bhagavad Gita, isn't it? This is the concluding climax. Krishna, he bears his heart and reveals how much he loves and invites us to love him back. This is what is the expectation. With that invitation, how can we reciprocate with him? He outlines this ladder, a process by which we can connect with him in a personal level. He just wants us to connect with him somehow or the other. So this is what is evidently seen. So by this understanding, we need to understand how Krishna is so eager to give his grace, and he offers it in multifarious ways or various ways according to the capacity to receive, according to our capacity to receive. When we open our hearts to him, then what happens? We can eternally be situated with him, and we can have this transcendental love and association with him. So this is what is the message that he's delivering through the 71st verse. And now coming to the 72nd, 72, that is the verse for today. Kaschite shrutam partha tvayaika grena chetasa kaschit ajnana sammohaha pranataste dhananjaya. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O son of Partha, O conqueror of wealth, have you heard this with attentive mind and your ignorance and delusion now dispelled? So, Kachit, whether, Etat Shrutam Partha, O Partha, have you heard this? Tavai, so have you heard this? Have you heard this? But he's making a very, very valid point here. He's asking, oh, have you heard this with one pointed attention? And as a result of this hearing, has your ignorance and has your illusion gone? Oh, Dhananjaya, has your ignorance and illusion dispelled? This is what Arjuna is asking. Krishna is asking. Krishna is inquiring from Arjuna, have you heard this attentively? Have you understood this very clearly? So now we understand Krishna has taken Arjuna to this battlefield, and he converts this battlefield into what? A classroom, isn't it? Where he has revealed this kind of knowledge which was not revealed earlier, and which it will not be revealed again also. This extraordinary knowledge, he revealed it to Arjuna so that his consciousness can be raised, and his student will have high level of consciousness, isn't it? Because what happens through this knowledge that he has got? His illusion and his ignorance is going to be dispelled. So this is the result that one is going to get. Both illusion and ignorance is a problem, isn't it? So why do we, Krishna is so happy about the fact that your ignorance and your the illusion is going to be dispelled as a result of this hearing, and it's all going to be destroyed. So Dhananjaya, you are the conqueror of great wealth. You have conquered this particular wealth. And have you conquered your ignorance and illusion? And have you attained the wealth of wisdom? This is what Krishna is asking Arjuna. So Krishna, he was ready to actually explain the whole Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna if he has not understood. This is what is seen in the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura. That is the compassion of Krishna. He's ready to repeat it, no problem. I will repeat the entire Bhagavad Gita for you if you have not understood it. If your ignorance and if your illusion has not gone, no problem. I'm ready to explain it over to you all over again. Can you see the compassion of Lord Krishna? Somehow he wants his devotee to come back to him by some means. I'm just giving you a ladder. You climb the ladder and come up to me. If you can't climb, I'm going to give you alternate ways for you to come to me. Please, but at least have the desire to come to me. Then rest, everything will happen following the desire that you have. So very, very compassionate he is, isn't it? So we need to understand this. Say, for example, Krishna, see, sometimes what happens is with our case, our parents, they are very, very conservative when it comes to publicly expressing their affection, isn't it? They cannot publicly display their love. And it will be evident somehow or the other because they will provide high quality education to kids. They will take care of their kids' needs. They will make sure that the kids are appropriately taken care of in various assignments and various classes and whatnot. This is the way a parent expresses their love to kids, even though they don't publicly declare. Okay, they don't publicly kiss them or hug them or do whatever. But in the background, they do everything that is needed for the child. A teacher, he may express his affection for students not by dramatic expressions to the student. What he will do as a teacher, he would spend extra time with the student, make him understand a difficult concept or a subject. Likewise, Krishna here exhibits a subtle form of affection towards Arjuna at the end of Bhagavad Gita. Isn't it? Of course, the whole Bhagavad Gita has spoken to Krishna out of affectionate concern for his dear friend. There is no doubt about it. He wants to help Arjuna come out of this paralyzing delusion that is afflicting him on seeing his relatives. They are all assembled on this Kurukshetra battlefield, and he feels depressed, and he feels he cannot kill them. So now what we are seeing here is that Gita's affectionate intent. Its content can be intellectual. Of course, we are all studying this intellectual subject matter, but then we see an affectionate intent of Lord Krishna, because he is discussing about various levels of dharma. He's talking about complex interrelationships. Why? Because he wants Arjuna. At the end of the day, he wants his illusion and ignorance be dispelled out of his heart. And he has affection for Arjuna. Only when you have affection towards a person will you be able to have concern for him, isn't it? And here Krishna is exhibiting that, and indirectly he's giving us this message that I'm affectionate towards all of you. I love all of you. I want all of you back to me. This is the intent that Krishna is talking. Indirectly, he has put Arjuna into delusion, isn't it? Arjuna, he's the Nitya Siddha, and he would never be affected by such things. But here we see that Krishna has personally put him into such a situation so that we are able to get this message of Gita. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura, how he's saying, that Arjuna has not understood. If Arjuna has not understood any part of Gita, no problem. I am ready to repeat it for you, Krishna says. He's ready to repeat the whole Gita if necessary. Can you believe this? How compassionate God is. And he does so much for us. So that is that is why we need to study this Gita with the mood of worship, with the mood to understand, okay, with an intention that I need to transform, I need to apply these concepts of Gita in my life so that Krishna will be pleased at the end of the day. And again, Krishna is pleased, but indirectly, you will be happy, you will be peaceful. Krishna does everything for our sake. That is something that we need to understand. He's not asking us to follow something which is not going to give us happiness. At the end of the day, you are completely benefited. That is the understanding. So with the eyes of knowledge, we can appreciate how the message of Gita is love-centric. So he concludes the message of Gita with love. So this is 72. That is verse number 72. So we need to, again, through sharing, obviously, one point that I want to stress here is that, say, Gita, Krishna, he demonstrates how to take responsibility of effective communication. So how can you say that? What is going on here? How do you say that effective communication is needed? So again, with preaching, it becomes very important for a person to communicate the message properly to the audience, isn't it? If we justify our unclear communication by claiming that, oh, your ability to comprehend is a problem, that is not right. We have failed to understand the purpose of communication, especially spiritual communication on Krishna's behalf. Here, in this particular verse, Krishna, he himself demonstrates how to take responsibility for effective communication. After speaking this Bhagavad Gita, he does not rest. Okay, Arjuna is now going to praise me. Arjuna probably might have been impressed with my talk. But what does he do instead? He concludes his talk with a compassionate inquiry. He asks Arjuna, have you heard this attentively? Has your illusion been dispelled? This is what Krishna is saying. Through this, he's helping us understand how important it is for us to take the responsibility of communicating the message of Gita on Krishna's behalf, on behalf of our parampara to others. So similarly, we have to take responsibility to communicate intelligently, so that we are also playing the part in continuing this Gita tradition, isn't it? Of course, we cannot make people accept. That is not our job. But what we can do is best to remove the cognitive obstacles that are seen on their path of acceptance. Even if they don't accept, that is perfectly fine. We will become spiritually fulfilled. Okay, there are some people in the audience who may accept the message of Gita, but our responsibility as a preacher is to make sure that we don't obviously communicate the message of our parampara. What is Srila Prabhupada's purport? It is this ecstasy. They are able to see the pastimes. Krishna reveals it in their heart, and that is how the purports come out. They are all his ecstasy. When Vishnu Chakravarti Thakura says something like this, it is coming from his heart. He is revealed. The pastime revealed in the heart of Vishnu Chakravarti Thakura, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakura, and that is how he is able to express that through his commentary. And we need to have the faith in our parampara. So the faith is an essential component that actually goes hand in hand with acceptance. Whether you accept or not, that depends on how much faith you have in the process, in our parampara, in the process of Shabda, how much you have. So that is very important. We need to have that there is staunch faith, because that faith only can help us implement. Because if we are not convinced about something that Gita talks about, then we are not going to have that willpower, because we are not convinced, isn't it? We don't have faith. Okay, they are saying this, but it's not practical. If you are thinking like that, then where is the question of application? And where is the question of transformation? Both things can't happen. So we, again, what Krishna also communicates over here is that we become spiritually fulfilled. Okay, if others don't accept when we try to preach, no problem. But what happens to this preacher? He becomes spiritually fulfilled by contemplating Gita's message. That is what happened to Sanjaya, the Gita's narrator. If you look at Sanjaya happened to narrate everything to Dhritarashtra. What happened with Dhritarashtra? Dhritarashtra's heart did not transform, but he was enriched with ecstasy. That is what will be seen in 76 and 77. So even though as a hearer, if somebody is not convinced, but we need to, first of all, Krishna says we need to effectively communicate, take the responsibility of communicating the message of our Guru Parampara. And then this is spiritual communication that we are doing on behalf of our Parampara. We are just repeating the message that has been already talked about. I mean, we are just like a parrot repeating the message of Krishna through our disciplic succession. So that message has to be spoken clearly. It has to be communicated properly from our side. And then what happens to the hearer, whether or not the hearer, at the end of the day, you did your part. If the hearer accepts it, it's well and good. But if he doesn't accept it, no problem. You will be spiritually fulfilled because you are contemplating the Gita's message. So this is we see Sanjaya's heart, how it got, Sanjaya, how he had that ecstasy because of sharing this message of Gita to Dhritarashtra, even though Dhritarashtra's heart did not transform. Okay, that is 72nd. And now let's move on to the 73rd verse. So hope everybody is clear with the 72nd verse. Before I proceed, I just wanted to ask if You're okay for me to proceed with the next verse?
Yes, Mataji, we can proceed, but I had a question. So, Mataji, you told us about the parent and the teacher. So the parent will do everything that in the background, while a teacher will keep on explaining it till the student understands it by different examples and everything. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is a parent and also a teacher. Is that correct? Because he has given us everything, what a parent does in the background. And he's now telling Arjuna, I mean, he's teaching Arjuna how to live life.
Yeah,
Is that correct? Or yeah,
Mataji, he is primarily speaking as a spiritual master for Arjuna. So that is the understanding. Of course, the spiritual master is our spiritual father. But the understanding is that, say, for example, Arjuna, why did that 7-point Karpanya dosha, why did it start? Because Arjuna, he was feeling, okay, if I take Krishna's words, Krishna to be my friend, then I'm not going to listen to him. I may or may not follow what he says. So now I have to surrender to him. I have to just go and say, oh, you are my spiritual master, and I just want you to be my spiritual master. That way, what happens is the relation becomes more formalized. Whatever you say, I will obey because you're my spiritual master. So that way, whatever Krishna says, it is spoken as if a spiritual master would speak. And Arjuna, as a student, he will sincerely listen. And if he has doubts, he will clarify the doubts, not in a demeaning way, but in a way so that he is convinced of the philosophy that he is going to practice. Because at the end of the day, he wants to practice whatever Krishna says. That is why he accepted him as a spiritual master. So it is a very formal relationship that Arjuna has. And that is why Gita is kind of, it is instructions for us to follow through. We also have to have that conviction to say that, like how Arjuna had this conviction, I must also have a deep understanding of the subject matter so that at the end of the day, I'm convinced to follow through. Because without that conviction, without faith, you're not going to be able to follow through or apply anything as to what Gita says. So we need to develop that mood. So in a way, we can say, yes, spiritual father and spiritual master is the relationship that Arjuna has, which is evident from 2.7.
Hare Krishna Mataji, there is also another question from Richa. Richa, is it possible for you to unmute and ask your question?
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. So my question is also related to the same topic, Mataji. So when if we look the relationship beyond Bhagavad Gita that Arjuna himself mentions is that where he apologizes that sorry, I treated you as a friend, you were like a brother to me, we were sleeping on the same bed, and you're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So does that mean that the power of all the other rasas, there is love as a parent, as a friend, as a lover, and of course there is as a servant. So does that mean that all other relationships or emotions that we share with Krishna are inferior compared to the one that one must come to the part where he takes Krishna as the Supreme Personality, not as Supreme Personality, but like as a formal relationship, the way Arjuna shares, and it can't be like a friend. No, you can't go to that part until you become like, you take him as a spiritual master. So I just want to know the importance of all the other rasas also. Does that mean that they are not very important, but the most important and the topmost is to accept him as a spiritual master? And what if you are in the flow of the one of the rasas, like let's say friend, and you don't really look at him as a spiritual master? Does that mean you're not qualified enough and not eligible enough to understand Krishna or understand Bhagavad Gita? I don't know if my question is of.
Yes, Mataji, it does make sense. Absolutely. Very nice question. I think it's a very thought out question, well thought out question. So a couple of things, Mataji, let's go one by one because your question is multifaceted. So first of all, here, so we need to understand that every living entity, you, me, everybody on the call, we all have a constitutional position, that relationship that we share with the Lord. And that relationship could have any of the 5 rasas, okay? It could have any of the 5 rasas. That is the constitutional position that will be revealed to us once we actually move to the Asakti stage. From Nishta, there is Ruchi, where we get taste. And then from that, we move to Asakti, where we do everything to please the Lord. That time, what happens is spontaneously, we will be able to understand what our constitutional position is if we have that lobha. Lobha is greed. So when we have that lobha, and when we want to, when we have that lobha to follow the footsteps of the Vrajavasis at that particular stage, that is, you're crossing Anartha Nivriti, you now are situated into Asakti stage, where at that stage you do everything just to please Krishna. At that stage, when you have that greed to follow into the footsteps of Vrajavasis, then what happens is our constitutional position, I mean, obviously they get further refined and refined and refined as you move to Bhava and Prema, where we know what we have in terms of relationship to Lord Krishna is. What is it? Is it a friendly Sakya Bhav, or is it Dasya Bhav, or what is that Bhav? We will know that at that time. But till that time, we worship the Lord in the mood of awe and reverence, which means we don't have any kind of relationship with the Lord, meaning it is always Dasya Bhav. We are in the mood of Dasanu, 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 Das. That is the mood that our ego has to develop. That real ego is that Jivera Swarupa. That is the ego that we need to develop. Till that time, where we reach the platform of Raganuga Bhakti, where we enter into a rasa, where we have that confidential relationship with that Lord. So that happens at a very late stage. And coming back to your question, okay, in Bhagavad Gita, we have a relationship of Arjuna is having, considering Krishna as a spiritual master. Again, this particular Bhagavad Gita conversation is happening for a particular purpose. Krishna is putting Arjuna into illusion so that we are able to get that message of Gita through a devotee like Arjuna. If you look at his Nitya Siddha Swarupa, he is always his friend. Krishna is always his friend with Arjuna. There is no deviation there. But for the purpose of this pastime, for the purpose of inculcating this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to us, there is this formal relationship of a disciple and a student is happening. Disciple and a master relationship is seen in the particular pastime. But otherwise, he is a Nitya Siddha devotee of the Lord, where he is enjoying the Sakya Ras with Lord Krishna. There is no change there. That is happening in a Nitya Siddha Swarupa. But for the sake of this earthly pastimes, we have Arjuna seeing Krishna as the spiritual master. So this is just a specific instance. Are you clear, Mataji? Am I able to answer your question? Richa Mataji?
Maybe Mataji has a internet challenge, but I think.
Hare Krishna Mataji, am I audible?
Yes.
Sorry, my phone actually hanged for like 10 seconds. It just freeze, but I could hear you. I am understanding what you're telling me. I'm trying to get as much as I can.
Wonderful. So hope you got the message, Mataji. Did you have any follow-ups?
The only thing that I couldn't really get is that the main doubt that I had is that am I, let's say me, I don't share really any relationship with Lord Shri Krishna at this point, but
maybe if on later stage, or if we see people who are there.
Yes.
I think she's having internet challenges, but I think maybe if I can understand what she was
Krishna
asking.
as a spiritual master.
Richa, we can't hear you. Richa, I know you are speaking, but we can't hear you.
Maybe you can type the question also.
Okay, Mataji, we can continue and I'll ask Richa to type a question.
Okay.
In the interest of time.
All right, Mataji. Arjuna Vacha Nashto Moha Smritirlabda Tvat Prashadan Mayachyuta Sthitomi Sagatha Sandeha Karishe Vachanam Tava. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is gone now. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt, and I am prepared to act according to your instruction. Nashto moho, nashto, destroyed. Smritir labda, my moha has been destroyed. My smriti has been restored. And how is this achieved? Tvat prasadan maya achyuta prasadam. By the mercy, ultimately by bhakti, that is the path of mercy, I got this. Bhagavad Gita gives a lot of analysis, but in conclusion, it describes the conclusion is described as it is the mercy, it is the path of mercy. And it's the path of mercy because of which extraordinary knowledge is revealed to us. That is the understanding. Tvat prasadan maya achyuta. Prasadam means mercy. Only through mercy, only through the grace, only through the mercy of the Lord that such extraordinary knowledge is revealed. So obviously, if you look at 1.21, which talks about Senayor Upayor Matye Ratam Sthaphaya Me Achyuta, isn't it? So Krishna never falls and he never fails to protect his devotees. Krishna, he remains transcendental and he always is unfailing to his devotees. Sithosmi, and now I am properly situated, Arjuna says. Gata sandeha, all my doubts are gone. They are now, they are no more. Karishye vachanam tava, I will do whatever you say. Now, as we looked at, there is the stage of transformation that happens, isn't it? And now we are seeing that that transformation has happened in Arjuna because he says, I know, I will do what you say, Krishna. So what is real appreciation? Real appreciation happens when one actually implements it. Okay, my father says, okay, go to bed early. Okay, I say, okay, dad, I will do it. Until I go to bed and show it in action, it is not yet implemented, isn't it? I don't implement it unless I do it. Here, Arjuna is saying, I will do according to what you say. So that shows he has appreciation for Krishna, and that appreciation is seen through implementation. So this verse is actually a pinnacle of surrender. Arjuna went a step ahead in surrender. He's not only saying, let your will be done, my Lord, but he's saying, I will do what you say. So he is implementing the desire or the will of the Lord. That is the understanding. Srila Prabhupada's purport says, Krishna consciousness means acting according to Krishna's order. That is Krishna consciousness. And we need to understand that, obviously. So practically, if you look at it, we have so much conditioning, isn't it? Everybody, we have been conditioned in certain ways, depending on what our previous state was. Depending on that, we've been conditioned so much. And because of the conditioning, even though we are knowing this knowledge, it is sometimes impossible for us to act on a practical basis. Don't we all feel that? Practically to act, okay, I have this knowledge. Why am I not able to do what Krishna says? That's a question that we all ask every day. Okay, I know this is bad. Sometimes we willingly indulge ourselves in bad things, even in spite of having the knowledge. Why? Have you asked that question to yourselves? Say, asking why? Why? Because our conditioning is stronger than the value system we have. So what we need to do, we have to keep on hearing till it goes deep into our heart, where it calls out for an application. So because we have so much material impressions in our mind, and it's very difficult to change overnight. This process, that's why this hearing is very, very important. Sometimes we may say, oh, Dhruva story, I might know that Dhruva story. Okay, I know it. I know what it talks about. I know the essence. We just have to keep hearing. No, it is not enough. The same message has to be heard over and over and over. It has to go deep into our heart. It has to make an impact in our heart. And when that impact happens, that is when transformation happens. So sometimes, I mean, not sometimes, most of the times we need to have this conviction, because the repetition is sattva. We are developing this mode of goodness by repetitively hearing the message of our shastras. Newer and newer revelations come to us also. If we are lucky enough, we will get that understanding. If we submissively hear, submissive, that is the key. Submissiveness has to be important. Oh, I know everything. I know what this Mataji is going to talk about. I know. If you have that I mentality, then we are going to come down. We are not going to imbibe the message of Gita. We need to understand, okay, Krishna is trying to say something to me. I need to sincerely hear with my ears, use my ears to the fullest extent possible, and try to hear submissively and try to understand, okay, what is Krishna trying to communicate through this message of Gita to me today? With that heart, if we try to melt down and then submissively surrender ourselves to Krishna, Krishna will make that transformation, because it all descends down to mercy at the end of the day. When we can't do what we can do, we can't do. We just depend on Krishna's mercy. I say, I plead to Krishna, I cry to Krishna, I cry out, and then I ask for mercy. Because I am not able to do, I know this is wrong, Krishna, I know what I'm doing is wrong, but still I'm succumbing myself and doing things that are not pleasing for you. So who do we go to? We go to Krishna and ask for that empowerment. And from him comes the mercy. Through mercy, we get the empowerment to do what we can. All right, so that is the understanding. And I would probably stop here. There is more to this, but I think we have covered it pretty good. But yeah, we will just leave it here, because on the question of time, we can take questions also. So Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, dear devotees, for patiently listening to me. And this message of Gita is very, very important for all of us. And with you, I'm also learning. And whatever I'm saying, it is also applicable to me. Of course, as a preacher, it first applies to me and then it applies to everybody else. That is the rule of thumb I always follow. So whatever message I have spoken, it's coming directly from Srila Prabhupada, and it is instruction for me first before I pass it on to all of you. Thank you so much. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripasindubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Richa's typed her message on the chat. I can read it out to you.
Sure, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances, all devotees. I wanted more clarification on the importance of relationships shared with Krishna. For example, someone who shares friendship with Lord Krishna, is he inferior to one who takes him as a spiritual master? Are all the rasas same, or they have levels?
Okay. So when it comes to rasas, Mataji, that is the relationship that you share with Krishna. Each individual has his own rasa or own unique relationship with Lord Krishna. But in general, we are all eternal parts of Lord Krishna. And this part cannot be happy without serving the whole. That must be understood. And when it comes to rasa, Madhurya is the highest. Okay, Madhurya is the highest. But again, if you look at a Vatsalya devotee, or if you look at a Dasya devotee, or if you look at a Sakya devotee, he's not going to feel inferior of his position. he is going to be very, very happy in whatever position he is situated with Lord Krishna. If you look at Hanuman, he's very, very happy. He doesn't want to have Madhurya Rasa with Krishna. He's very happy with the servitor, Dahasya relationship with Lord Ram. He doesn't want to trade off or change his position as well. That is the uniqueness. Krishna makes us feel so happy in that rasa, whatever we are in with the Krishna. It is so if you look at Arjuna, he's happy being a friend of Krishna. If you look at each devotee like that, gopis are very happily situated in Madhurya rasa. And even in that Madhurya rasa, there are so many gradations. And each gopi, see, Radharani is the most, she's the highest. But other gopis, they don't feel inferior about their own positions. They are happily situated. Lalita, Vishaka, everybody is happily situated in their own rasa. So even when we are going to have this unique relationship with Lord Krishna, whatever we are, that will be revealed to us in later stages of our spiritual progress, we will be happy in that. We will be very, very happy and pleased in that. And you look at other devotees that are there in the spiritual world, they don't have this envy, isn't it? There is no three modes that are acting there. Nobody feels competitive seeing the other. They, in fact, all the gopis, they feel so happy if Radharani is taken care of by Krishna. They have so much. How can they enhance their love by showing more love so that Radha and Krishna can be happy? That is what they think. So they do, everything is done. That spiritual world is total opposite of perverted. Material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So when it comes to rasa and when it comes to having this relationship with Krishna, nothing is inferior or superior in that way. Because Krishna, he makes everyone feel loved. So each one is happy in their own rasa. But when it comes to rasa as such, Madhurya rasa is the highest. But that doesn't actually mean the others are inferior. It is again unique, but that form of love is very, very high, which is the understanding. Hope that helps, Mataji. Can anyone who doesn't take Krishna as spiritual master never understand Bhagavad Gita? So Bhagavad Gita should be understood with the feeling that we shouldn't be envious towards the Lord. That is a prerequisite. To understand Bhagavad Gita, we should not have that mentality of enviousness. Okay, what is Krishna going to say? I mean, when you have this kind of very erratic mentality, then that is, it has to be learned in a submissive mood. So that is the essential requirement for us to learn Bhagavad Gita. So, which is why some people understand Gita to some extent, while they don't understand it to greater extent, because that deepness, that the deep understanding has to be there. For that, one has to be very, very, very submissive, and they have to be very attentive, like how Parikshit Maharaj was when he heard Bhagavatam. With rapt attention, one has to hear the message of the Lord, right? That is the requirement. And when we don't have this inimical feelings towards the Lord, we'll be able to understand the message of the Lord. Okay, Mataji, hope I answered.
Yeah, Mataji, I think Richa will be satisfied with that answer. But in the 5 rasas, being a spiritual master is not a rasa. It is probably a prerequisite that you accept Krishna as a spiritual master, and then
so dasya, every rasa has dasya in it. Every rasa. So that is when you have the mood of being a servant. You obviously you just follow what Krishna wants. You follow the will of the Lord. So that is that mood of servitorship is always there. That dasya bhav. That is why we need to have as a sadhaka. That is why we are told that is the base. Dasya forms the base for everything. All the other rasas have dasya embedded in it.
That's very clear, Mataji. Thank you very much. And Richa sent a message as well that it's an amazing class. Thank you very much. So are there any other questions? I know we have exhausted our time, but we can ask one more question if there is. Are there any other questions? Divyesh Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, fine.
All your
Mataji.
doubts are dispelled.
Yes, you explained it so well, Mataji. But I know if there are any, we'll come back. You are going to be there
No problem.
next Friday, so we can. Divesh Prabhuji, is it possible for you to conclude the session?
Sure, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, Hare Krishna, thank you so much for your time and your knowledge that you shared with us. You've done it so perfectly. We also pray to Krishna to also grant you some more deep insights into this, which you can share with all your devotees. We're very, very humbled and grateful, and we wish you join us for more classes. Hare Krishna, and thank you very much for your time. God bless you and everyone. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. You made my day. I really appreciate all the blessings I can have so that I can share my knowledge with everyone, as is mentioned, rightly mentioned, because that is Krishna's mercy. He wants to make sure all the devotees get everything. And thank you, Prabhuji. You made my day, and thank you so much. Hare Krishna. All you devotees are so sincere. So that's why, even though I have these meetings, I just wanted to personally come and associate with all of you. It's my blessing. I take this as I've given some excuses, and then I've come here because I just definitely rejoice and look forward to Fridays every week. So this is a great source of nourishment for me. And thank you, devotees, for being so sincere. Just want to follow in the footsteps of all of you. Thank you so much. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya Hari. I think you can go ahead, Mataji.
Let's chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra once. Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Rama Hare Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama,
Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Vancha
Kalpatarubhyascha,
kalpatarubhyascha
Kripa
Sindhubhyeva
Sindhubhyeva
Patitanam Pavanebhyo,
Vaishnavibhyo
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 Namaha.
Namo
Namo Namaha.
Prabhupada ki
ki
jai.
jai.
Shri Radhika Kasturi Mataji
Mataji ki jai.
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 ki bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Just to let everybody know, Mataji joins us from the States where it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and she's coming to our class in between her meetings. So Mataji, we really appreciate that, and we'll leave you so that you
More
can.
than I also look forward, Mataji. I couldn't imagine. I said I'll record it on Zoom and send you a recording, but it's just not happening with me. I'm not able to do it personally on my end. So thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.